Hi, friendzonies. Thanks for. Okay, no, I'm not calling you guys friendzonies anymore. All right, I tried it for 2 videos. I like the way it looks when I type it, but saying it, no, I don't want to keep saying it. Friendzonies, but I did coin it. I believe I coined the term, so it's mine. And if you hear anyone else say it, report them to whoever so I can get paid. Okay. All right. All right. What's up, guys? Thanks for tuning back in to Keeping It Real with Danie Steele. I know I've been gone for a minute. Just a minute though. It's just a minute. You know how it is. You know how I am. If you followed me from the beginning, if you followed the DK show from the beginning, you know how I am. I take breaks, and I'm not. Well, sometimes I apologize for them. I'll give you a half apology for it because I really do love interacting with you all. But at the same time, I do feel like it's important to take the mental health breaks that you need to take every now and then. And if you're watching this video, you've probably been watching YouTube videos, every day, like me. I watch YouTube videos like every day. So you know that, and you watch the news, whatever. So you know that, there's been major calamity and high chaos going on with the shootings and killings of unarmed or armed black people for the period of time that I was gone. Anyways, so that was going on. And there's been a lot of videos about it. A lot of people have had a lot to say about, Philando Castile and Corin Gaines and, all the numerous other people that have been affected by this stuff lately. So I just feel like just because I have a channel and I make videos doesn't mean that I should just be like voicing my opinion on the matter. When there's other people that are doing it and they have very insightful things to say, and you should listen to people who really want to address the issue. And more than address the issue, I too wanted to listen to what was going on and why was this happening and what's happening and what can be done, and get my feelings about it figured out. And the people that make videos about this usually know how they feel about the issue. So I leave it to them. When I know how I feel about something, I will speak on it. And I don't want to speak just to speak. I want it to mean something. I want it to sit back and observe. And I've watched dozens and dozens and dozens and dozens of other people's YouTube videos on various subjects. Actually, I've watched dozens and dozens of different YouTubers on various subjects, and found everything that they've had to say, for the most part, very insightful. So yeah, since I'm talking about the break that I took, I'll just talk about the videos that I watched. I'll just talk about the videos that I watched. One of the major things that I've seen since I've been watching YouTube videos and not putting them out is, the gender war between black men and black women. And it's intense. Like if you're looking for the topic, you'll find it, And it's been going on for a very long time, and there's a lot of different points of view in it. And I listen to a lot of different YouTubers who talk, who have input and say because it's the Black conscious community. It's, you know, Black women empowerment. It's the swirl community. So there's a lot of different, I guess maybe Hotep is like a little sub community. I don't know. But there's a lot of different communities and opinions involved. And, you know, I listen to them all. I've listened to the swirl point of view. I've listened to the BWE, Black Women Empowerment point of view. I've listened to women who feel like, you know, I'm about Black women empowerment, but I'm also about Black empowerment overall point of view. So Black women empowerment, you know, if you're like on a scale, if you're like, if there's like a scale, it would be like swirling Black women empowerment, the women who feel like they are more towards Black empowerment as a whole than just particularly Black women empowerment. So like the Black women empowerment and the swirl people like really don't get along with those women. Then you have like the Black conscious community, which is like, you know, very heavily Black male centered, I guess. And then you have, I don't know, like the Hoteps. Like the Hoteps are just like talking about crazy shit, and and I don't know, they're kind of like, I guess like women stay in your place kind of thing. Okay, anyways, that's the scale that I've noticed watching these videos. Where do I fall on the scale? I fall somewhere obviously between the swirl movement and Black women empowerment. No, I believe I fall somewhere between Black women empowerment and the Black women who are, you know, focused on Black people empowerment as a whole. I think that I fall somewhere between there. You know, I think I respect the swirl argument, but that's just not what I'm focused on. My opinions about that particular subject, I don't want to be spending all of my time arguing with people about my opinion versus their opinion. So I think that's probably why I don't talk about it that much. You know, I like to talk about it more, but you know, and the YouTubers that I've watched are very respectable, but you know, you will get commenters that just don't know how to argue or have a conversation. So I'm just not going to. Oh great, Ken's here. I'm gonna pause the video. All right, so Ken just came in and ruined my vibe, my flow. So I ate some chips. Now I'm back. Okay, so yeah, you know, so like I understand the argument. So I feel like the argument that's being made in the gender, or well, there's several arguments. Okay, there's Black men versus Black women, and then there's Black men that support Black women, Black men that don't support Black women, Black women that support Black men, Black women that don't support Black men. You know, generalizing, obviously, greatly, but not too much. So yeah, so you have that, and the women, the Black women that support Black men, and that might be generalizing it, you know. I definitely feel like I support Black men and love Black men, and I, you know, support Black love, Black marriage, Black unity, Black power. Black, 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 blackity, black, 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 blackity, black, black, black. Black, 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 blackity, black. Yes, okay, I support all of that. I also believe that um, if you find someone um, as a black person who you feel is willing to work with you towards building black empowerment and cares enough about, you know, your daily struggle. You know, I teach theater, and I had a young student say, you know, I would get somebody outside my race as long as they, you know, care about my like black experience, you know, my experience as a black person. You know, and I just think it's a very profound statement for such a young person to make, because when I was her age, I wasn't thinking that way. I wasn't like, you know, you gotta care about how I feel as a black person. I was like, you gotta love me, you know, and Backstreet Boys, you know, baby, like that's all I cared about. So, you know, I was very impressed by that statement, and that's exactly how, you know, today I certainly feel. And I feel like if you're going to be in an interracial relationship, you need to make sure your partner is holding themselves accountable for dismantling the inequalities that we face, and that includes the system of white supremacy. You know, that contributes to the racism that black people have to endure on a daily basis. So there are black women that feel like you shouldn't date outside your race no matter what. And I think that's been a sentiment of black women, most black women, for, you know, the majority of the time. And then there are other black women, and this is like where I like straddle the fence, I guess, you know, that the other black women feel like, you know, I have the right to be with whoever makes me happy. But you know, like Meek Mill says, there's levels to this shit, right? Because you have black women that hold their partners accountable, and you have black women that don't. And I don't support that type of union for the people that are not holding their partners accountable, whether it's black men in an interracial relationship or black women in an interracial relationship. I just don't support being with someone and allowing them to be comfortable in their ignorance, marrying them, interacting with their family who's doing the same, letting that affect your children. I don't think that's okay. You know, I think that if you're going to be in an interracial relationship, you're going to have to face the reality that you've entered into something that looks easy from a distance. You know, and you should be willing to work with your partner. Now, if you are a black person, right, because when we talk about race, we talk about phenotype, you know. If you're a black person and you're just magic, you're so full of magic that you've never experienced any racism, and so that's one of the reasons why you're dating interracially, because you're like, I've never experienced racism, and you know, you're on your Ben Carson or whatever. Well, Ben Carson's wife is black, but he's, you know, he's got coon tendencies. Anyways, if you're a person that really feels that way, then go ahead, do you. You know, like, okay, go ahead, do. I have nothing to say to you. You know, they're arguing as well. These people who feel this way, these magic people who feel like, even though that they identify as black, they've never experienced racism. But they're arguing about this stuff as well, but I'm not arguing back with them. I have absolutely nothing to say to them. I'm like, if you're not gonna get it, you're not gonna get it. I don't have time. I promise you. I just want to talk to people who get it. The people that don't get it, what do you want? What do you do? What do you want to do? I can't be bothered. All right, this wind's getting a little crazy here at my window. Oh. Okay. I'll be right back. Sorry about that. Had to close the window. Anyways, on the DK show Instagram, I get a lot of that foolishness, that obliviousness. I'm swirling into obliviousness. You know what I'm saying? And I'm just like, okay, have fun with that. I'm not about that. I believe people should be with whoever they want to be with. People want to be with, abusive men, but they shouldn't be with them. They want to be with them anyways, but that doesn't mean they should be with them. And everybody knows it, right? So, anyways, lots of arguments in the gender war. I've said before in my other videos, and I'll say it again, just don't play yourself, Don't end up in a family with people that don't like you, trying to make a relationship works with someone that, isn't bothering to work as hard as you, because enduring racism every day is very difficult, very hard work to, meet someone treating you like less than, with a, attitude of discernment, about picking and choosing your battles, right? We have to do this every day as Black people, and I don't think I'm going to tell you in this video because I wanted to make it a different video, but I got into it with some older, heavier white lady the other day because I parked in front of her garage, and she came over to ask who had parked there. She wrote some note on some Jehovah's Witness paper that was like, move your car, I need to get out, just very rude. And there's certain people, you just look at them and you can tell that they don't know how to follow society cues, and that they're a little slow in that capacity. But to me, that doesn't excuse it. Just because you don't know how to act doesn't mean that I have to tolerate you not knowing how to act. I'm not going to tolerate that. Anyway, she came over, asked me to move the car, but she didn't ask nice. We're in, I was in a church taking voice lessons. Okay. So she came over to the church, asked if somebody in the church's car, which I think is pretty smart because a visitor might park there, which is what I was. And I was not a visitor to the church. I was just simply getting voice lessons in that church. There was no church service that I was going to. So anyways, the lady comes over. She's rude as hell. We're walking and she's like, oh, just so disrespectful. No respect for anyone's space. No respect. And finally, after her saying this enough to me and my friend, both of us Black, young Black people with our natural hair, loving life. We're walking. We were out of the church because I'm going to respect the church. And as soon as we hit the alleyway, and she's still, that type of person who and I promise you, I'm not making fun of fat people because I'm not a bodybuilder. I got curves myself. I'm not making fun of fat people. I'm making fun of her chunky ass fucking chin, her fucking third of her fucking weight literally was in her fucking head and neck. She's like, you know, I got time for all that shit. So, anyways, you know, so we're walking and she's still doing it. And I was like, we're going to move the car, but you need to be quiet. And she was like if you had a camera and you were like panning it, you know, it would be like, you know, like she couldn't fathom that one of the responses to how she was behaving would be me to tell her to keep her mouth shut. She couldn't fathom that. She couldn't believe it. She couldn't believe it. Okay, so she keeps going, and then I keep going, you know, because I'm not gonna put up with it. I'm like, I don't know who you think you're talking to, but I'm going to move the car. So why are you still talking like you have some attitude? Oh, just no respect for anyone's property. No, I don't have respect for you. I don't know who you are. Why should I respect you? I don't have respect for you. I have respect for the law. I have respect for my friend in his neighborhood. I don't have respect for you, particularly, no. But you obviously don't have respect for anyone, especially these two dark-skinned, natural-haired looking black people that you've just now encountered doing a voice lesson. And you feel the need to, you know, she came in on some condescending, like she was like, you know, the great white hope saving black kids in church, you know, like she was a missionary or something, like, oh, you crazy kids got out again, like you, oh, you know, you know, who the hell are you lecturing? Who are you lecturing? Somebody parked in front of your garage. I've been here for 40 years. Okay, and by the looks of it, you haven't gotten out much. Okay? Because I've been going here for a couple of months now, and it's never been a problem. I'm only there for 2 hours tops. So really, it's that big a deal? Okay, I'm veering off talking about this story. I have to put it on something else, make it shorter. The point is, man, the gender war between black men and black women on YouTube. You know, honestly, I feel like I'll talk about it more. I'm just letting you know that I've been watching a lot of videos about different things, and that's one of them. And you know, the arguments are deep and interesting. But I think at the end of the day, all we need to do as black people is focus on getting our minds up, getting our money up, you know, um, and truly empowering ourselves. And by empowering our children, by giving to the children, by as women taking care of ourselves, loving ourselves, by as men stepping up, making this money, you know, self-defense, and education. Really, I feel like at the end of the day, you know, those are the answers. So that we won't have to continuously see all these videos of, you know, if black women didn't do this, and, you know, well, black men that, and you know, a lot of valid arguments without a doubt, but the arguing doesn't help us progress. Certainly not as fast as it would if we actually just came together and did what we had to do. And you can come together as the black community if you're in an interracial relationship. You can work for black, you know, all these celebrities saying that they're mixed or that they have mixed children, so, you know, they can't speak on black empowerment. That's bullshit. You can. It's very easy. Look, I'm doing it right now. You can work with your community and work to empower black people, and be in a healthy interracial relationship as well. So, yeah. that's pretty much it for right now. Like me on Facebook and Instagram, Danie Steele. Even though I had to make my Danie Steele private because some coon dude allowed his little girlfriend, okay, some white girl, came on my Instagram talking about some, you stole my man, and how you gonna steal our man and then tell us that we can't date your man? I'm like, never said that. But what I have said is less men, there are less black men available than black women. And at the end of the day, the man's supposed to be the one that steps up and asks the women out. So at the end of the day, the men have a lot more control over who they date than they pretend to. If you know women like men with clean jeans, don't have dirty jeans and then say, well, I tried to get a woman and she wouldn't take me, so therefore, you know, I don't like women. No, clean your jeans and try again. All right? Dust yourself off and try again. Okay, I lost my voice. All right, don't judge me. Um, okay. So yeah, that's it for now. um, like me on Facebook, like me on Instagram, like me on Twitter. Find the links below and whatnot. And comment below. Let me know what you think about the infamous gender war between black women and black men on YouTube. What YouTuber do you listen to the most about these issues? I know I have a handful of YouTubers that I like always listen to, and then there's it trickles around, different levels, layers, right? So, anyways, yeah, let me know how you feel and what you think. All right, guys, see you soon. Bye.